After that, Mika put out a broadcast about the alterations that she was going to be undergoing, making sure that the crew knew that she would not look like herself. Also informing them that she would be going under a different identity, and that secrecy would be important during this mission, that they would all have to refer to her under this new identity, and to spend the next week getting comfortable with it. So, while they moved exovol into orbit around the planet, Dr. Ricola began setting up for the operation. After all was said and done, Mika and Dr. Ricola decided to go with a Materian as the basis for the alteration to Mika's appearance, as it was the closest to her natural bone structure, so the least amount of alteration would be necessary. As promised, the operation was seamless, taking only a few short hours, after which Mika could no longer recognize herself in the mirror, having changed everything, even her voice. Her hair, now a vibrant red, and curly, unlike the straight hair that she had before. Her skin tone, a glossy silver complexion, with red irises. Even her hair had a metal-like shimmer to it. Over the course of the next week, they made a great number of changes on board exovol in order to ensure that they would fit in with the individuals who were most likely contracted to fight alongside them, having a much less uniform style to their attire when it came to overall color pattern, relying instead on badges to indicate rank. They also did some modifications to Exovol's overall design. Currently, Exovol had 3 forms, one primarily defensive, another offensive, while the third was primarily focused towards the process of using Exovol's nanotech in order to absorb other ships, as being able to absorb ships was not something that she would be able to do during the upcoming conflict. They altered Exovol's design, removing the cannibal ship function, and instead focusing on the 2 remaining forms, refining them even further, and making them more applicable to overall war. In the end, Mia and Oscar were able to come up with some very inventive ideas that would allow them to facilitate combat and war far more effectively, and cooperate with allied ships in order to make the most of Exovol's capabilities. Whilst most of the crew was busy helping with this transition, Mika was working with the Brotherhood, getting detailed information on the war effort, current military numbers and standing. And by all current accounts, the Church of the Dealer was basically at a standstill with their opponents, with neither side truly being able to press forward in any meaningful way, and all of their previous engagements had ended with destruction on both sides, and no clear victor, which wasn't good. Mika's deal would only be complete once they actually won their conflict and claimed possession of the planet. It wasn't until that point that she'd be able to go after. Friedmont wouldn't be hers to claim until the war was over. Thankfully, the conflict wasn't as extreme as a war between actual worlds. This was simply a clamoring for power between 2 organizations. Both, of course, had ample resources, but nowhere near that of an entire army. Currently, each side had sent in about 24 ships in total, most of which were Tier 1 ships, with a smattering of Tier 2 and 3 on each side, leading the conflict. In terms of overall forces, they were fairly even, and the Brotherhood was hoping the Tier 3 ship that Friedmont was piloting would help push things in their favor. But now, with a second Tier 3 ship, capable of far more than any regular Tier 3 ship, joining the conflict, the odds were stacking in the Brotherhood's favor. She wasn't exactly a fan of helping them out, but it was necessary to achieve her goals. Finally, the week had drawn to a close, and a few days late, taking almost a week and a half, finally, the ship that Friedmont was piloting dropped out of light-speed travel outside of the world. The Tier 3 ship dropped out of light speed outside of Goromon in a flash of green light. The ship was obviously formidable in its stature, weaponry, and armament. However, it was a bit outdated, being of a much older make and model. By the looks of it, a Terrian combat cruiser. Older or not, it was still formidable, not to be taken lightly by any circumstance. The ship looked like it needed some serious work, but had been patched somewhat effectively, its old battle scars still visible. As it dropped out of light speed, Mika was already prepared. She had been waiting anxiously for days, Friedmont having been taking his sweet time getting back. He most likely wasted some time celebrating after achieving his initial goals. It sounded like him, and he no doubt had a new crew to break in. So without any hesitation, as soon as the ship emerged, Mika already being informed of its make and model, she gave the signal to contact them. No doubt he was surprised to enter the orbit of the planet and find another Tier 3 ship waiting for him. One even more formidable than his own, almost Tier 4 in status and size, and without all the battle scars. He quickly responded as the signal got patched through to the bridge of exovol, which Mika had also decided to change. She didn't need an O-key name giving away their identity, so for the time being, the ship was also going under an alias, as a holographic display appeared in the center of the bridge. "This is Captain Friedmont Dareman of the Oglagine. What is your purpose and intent?" Friedmont said, sitting in the captain's chair, front and center. As Mika stared him down, it took everything she had to stifle the disgust in her stomach. She wanted nothing more than to open fire on him right then and there. However, she maintained her composure. "This is Captain Angelus Mira of the starship Tota. I was informed about your arrival from the Brotherhood," Mika said, crossing one leg over the other as she stared through the holographic screen. "I have been contracted alongside you to help with the war efforts, so it appears we'll be working together. I was asked to await your arrival before disembarking to our new destination." "Oh, so you're working with the rogues too. I must say, you had me concerned there for a moment," Friedmont said. "Here I was thinking I might be in for a fight, wondering why there's a big-ass warship floating around. But it all makes sense now. So tell me, how did they Shanghai you into this job? Don't tell me they gave you that ship. Damn, you must have cut one hell of a deal for that." "Don't insult me. Mika replied frustratedly. This ship was already mine. I simply owed them a favor. And the terms of that favor are between myself and them. There's no need for me to discuss it with you. Just because we're going to be on the same side of this conflict doesn't make us friends. So you can dispense with the pleasantries. As per the Brotherhood's information, I've been told that you have some deliveries to make. Once you've dropped off all your goods, we are to head to the site of the conflict immediately together. That is, as fast as that rust bucket you're flying can go. I doubt it can keep up with my ship, but I'm willing to slow down so that we don't lose track of you, Mika said, smiling a bit, trying to give off a presence of confidence. Well, isn't that the bit of ego you got there? Think just because you got a better ship you're better than me? Don't get so high on yourself. After all, we're both doing the dirty dealing of a freaking cult. I'd say quaffing about who's better is a little bit impractical under these circumstances, don't you think? Friedmont said, giving a sneer of his own right back. It hardly matters, Mika replied. I'm simply here to see how that the objectives are completed. Nothing more, nothing less. I could care less about superiority, so much as effectiveness. And effectiveness was all that I was concerned with. I have no need to gloat about my own superiority, regardless of whether I have it or not. You'll find that I believe such things to be a waste of time. So, complete your transaction with the Brotherhood and prepare yourself for departure. Hey, settle your horses. We only just got here. We have to re-up on supplies. Fine, Mika replied. But don't lollygag about it. You can waste your time all you want, but don't waste mine. Yeah, I hear ya. Lady in a hurry, Friedmont replied. Give me 12 hours to drop off their merchandise and then re-up on the things that we need and get some minor repair work done. And then we can be off. That is, unless you want to help. It could speed things along. No thanks. I'm not in that much of a hurry. You can do your own damn work, Mika replied. Fine, suit yourself, Toots. Captain Friedmont out, he said, terminating the signal between the ships. I hate that bastard. Even the sound of his voice disgusts me. But I suppose I'm going to have to get used to it for the time being. Keep the ship in orbit alongside his, and notify me of any strange behavior, Mika said, as she stood out of her chair. I'm going to my office, and I better not be disturbed unless it's important, she said, rubbing her head a bit as she went. This was going to be a long mission.